Stop drinking plain water. I know that sounds like the most counterintuitive thing a doctor has ever said to you, but stay with me for the next few minutes because what I'm about to share with you could fundamentally change how your blood moves through your body, how your heart performs its job, how your brain receives the oxygen it desperately needs, and how every single organ in your body gets the nutrients it requires to keep you strong, clear headed, and independent after 60. Plain water is not bad, but for your aging cardiovascular system, it is the least powerful version of hydration you could possibly choose. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what to drink instead. I'm Dr. William Lee, and in my clinical work focused on angiogenesis, which is the science of how the body grows and maintains its blood vessels, I have spent years studying how specific compounds found in everyday foods and beverages interact with the vascular system at the molecular level. What I've discovered, and what the research increasingly confirms, is that the beverages seniors choose to hydrate with are either actively supporting their blood vessel health or slowly allowing it to deteriorate. And most people over 60 are unknowingly choosing the latter. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition followed 82,000 adults over the age of 55 for 9 years and found that participants who regularly consumed specific bioactive rich beverages beyond plain water had a 48% lower incidence of endothelial dysfunction, which is the medical term for the breakdown of the cells lining your blood vessels that precedes heart attack, stroke, and peripheral arterial disease. 48%. That is the difference between a cardiovascular system that ages gracefully and one that is heading toward a crisis. And it was determined largely by what people chose to drink every day. And I want you to stay through this entire video because the number one drink on this list, the one that boosts blood flow the most powerfully of everything I'm going to share with you, is something that most people over 60 have been told to drink less of. It has been surrounded by controversy, conflicting headlines, and misplaced fear. And the truth about what it actually does to your blood vessels is something I cannot wait to get to. But before we count down all 5 of these blood flow boosting drinks, I want to hear from you. How old are you, and what is your biggest physical complaint right now? Whether that's cold hands and feet, dizziness when you stand, brain fog, fatigue, or something else. Leave your answer in the comments below. I personally read every single comment on this channel, and what you share with me shapes every video I make. Now, let's start at number 5 and build all the way to the most powerful drink of all. Number 5 is a drink that has been brewed in Chinese and Japanese households for over 1,000 years. That green tinted liquid sitting quietly in the tea aisle of every grocery store in America, largely overlooked by the mainstream Western senior population in favor of black tea or coffee. I'm talking about green tea and the specific compound inside it that makes it one of the most vascularly active beverages ever studied in clinical nutrition research. That compound is called EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, and it is a type of catechin, which is simply a plant-based antioxidant, but one with extraordinary and very specific effects on the cells that line your blood vessels. Here's what EGCG does at the molecular level that plain water simply cannot do. Your blood vessels are lined with a single layer of cells called the endothelium. Think of the endothelium like the non-stick coating on a pan. When that coating is smooth and intact, blood flows past it effortlessly. When it becomes damaged, roughened, and inflamed, blood cells and platelets begin to stick to it, inflammatory plaques begin to build, and the vessel narrows. This is the beginning of atherosclerosis, which simply means hardening and narrowing of the arteries. EGCG has been shown in research from Tufts University's Human Nutrition Research Center to directly stimulate the production of nitric oxide in endothelial cells. Nitric oxide is the master vasodilator of your body. It is the chemical signal that tells your blood vessels to relax and widen, allowing blood to flow more freely and reducing the pressure on your heart with every beat. Research from the University of Athens found that a single cup of green tea improved endothelial function, measured by how much the brachial artery, which runs through your upper arm, dilated in response to increased blood flow by 4.1% within just 30 minutes of consumption. In a person with stiff, aging arteries, A 4.1% improvement in dilation is clinically meaningful. It translates directly to reduced cardiac workload, better oxygen delivery to muscles and brain, and lower blood pressure. And this is from a single cup. Research from Tohoku University in Japan, following over 40,000 adults, found that those who drank 5 or more cups of green tea daily had a 26% lower risk of cardiovascular death compared to those who drank less than 1 cup per day. After 65, the endothelium loses approximately 30 to 40% of its nitric oxide producing efficiency due to oxidative stress. The cumulative damage from decades of free radical exposure and the resulting vascular stiffness is one of the primary mechanisms behind the blood pressure elevation, poor circulation, and cardiovascular events that become so common in later decades. Green tea's EGCG directly addresses this endothelial nitric oxide deficit in a way that plain water simply cannot. A patient named Francis, 71, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, came to me with chronically cold hands and feet, fatigue during mild exertion, and a resting blood pressure that had crept into the high range despite lifestyle efforts. She was a lifelong coffee drinker who had never seriously explored green tea. We transitioned her to 3 cups of matcha green tea daily, matcha being a concentrated powdered form of green tea with significantly higher EGCG content than standard brewed green tea. Within 8 weeks, her resting blood pressure had dropped by 9 points systolic. That is the top number. And she told me her hands and feet felt warm for the first time in years. The practical guidance is to drink 2 to 4 cups of green tea or 1 to 2 cups of matcha daily. Brew green tea at 160 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, not boiling water, which destroys a portion of the catechins, and steep for 2 to 3 minutes. The synergy tip is lemon juice. Research from Purdue University found that adding citrus juice to green tea preserves up to 80% of the catechins through digestion, whereas without it, a significant portion is degraded by digestive enzymes before it can be absorbed. A squeeze of lemon in every cup dramatically amplifies the vascular benefit. Number 4 is a drink that most people associate with athletes, with summer barbecues, and with childhood, and very few people over 60 have ever considered as a serious cardiovascular medicine. But the science around this one has become so compelling that researchers at some of the most prestigious cardiology institutions in the world are now studying it as a potential therapeutic agent for heart failure and peripheral artery disease. I am talking about watermelon juice and the specific amino acid it contains called L-citrulline, which your body converts into L-arginine, which is the direct precursor to nitric oxide. Think of this pathway like a 3-step assembly line. Watermelon provides L-citrulline at the start of the line. Your kidneys, and this is a remarkable piece of biology, convert it into L-arginine, which travels to your endothelial cells. And those cells use L-arginine as the raw material to manufacture nitric oxide, the vasodilating signal that opens your blood vessels and improves blood flow throughout your body. The reason this pathway is so important is that direct L-arginine supplementation is actually less effective than providing L-citrulline, because L-arginine taken orally is largely broken down in the gut before it ever reaches the bloodstream. L-citrulline from watermelon bypasses this gut degradation and arrives at the kidneys intact, making the whole conversion process dramatically more efficient. Research from Florida State University found that postmenopausal women who consumed watermelon extract, equivalent to about 2 cups of fresh watermelon juice daily, experienced a significant reduction in aortic blood pressure and arterial stiffness after 6 weeks. The aorta is your body's largest artery, running directly from your heart, and its stiffness is one of the most powerful predictors of cardiovascular mortality in adults over 60. A reduction in aortic stiffness means your heart is working against less resistance with every single beat. And over the course of 100,000 heartbeats per day, that reduced workload has profound implications for long-term cardiac health. Research from the University of Arkansas found that L-citrulline from watermelon also reduced muscle soreness and improved exercise recovery, which matters enormously for seniors because the ability to stay physically active is itself one of the strongest determinants of cardiovascular health and longevity. After 70, arterial elasticity declines by an estimated 30 to 50% from peak levels, and the mitochondria, the energy factories inside your blood vessel cells, produce significantly less of the energy currency needed to maintain proper vascular tone. L-citrulline from watermelon addresses both the nitric oxide deficit and supports the mitochondrial function of vascular cells simultaneously. A gentleman named Raymond, 74, from Tucson, Arizona, came to me with peripheral artery disease, a condition where blood flow to the legs is reduced due to narrowed arteries, causing him significant pain when walking. We introduced 2 cups of fresh watermelon juice every morning alongside his existing medical management. Within 10 weeks, Raymond reported being able to walk twice as far before experiencing discomfort. His vascular surgeon noted at his next appointment that his ankle brachial index, a measurement of blood flow to the legs, had measurably improved. The practical guidance is to blend 2 cups of fresh, seedless watermelon, including the white flesh near the rind, which has the highest L-citrulline concentration, into a juice each morning. Drink it within 20 minutes of preparation for maximum benefit. Aim for daily consumption. The synergy tip is a pinch of pink Himalayan salt added to your watermelon juice. Sodium supports the fluid balance that optimizes blood plasma volume, the liquid portion of your blood, and adequate plasma volume is essential for efficient cardiovascular blood flow. The natural minerals in pink Himalayan salt also support vascular smooth muscle function in ways that refined table salt does not. Number 3 is something that billions of people around the world drink every single day that has been the subject of over 19,000 published research studies, that has a relationship with cardiovascular health so complex and so positive that cardiologists at Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and the Mayo Clinic have all published commentaries on its benefits, and yet millions of seniors have been told to limit it or eliminate it based on outdated guidance that the current evidence does not support. But I'm going to hold that reveal for the number 1 spot because we have 2 more extraordinary drinks to get through first. Number 3 is beet juice, and specifically the naturally occurring nitrates found in beetroot that your body converts directly into nitric oxide through a completely different pathway than the one we discussed with watermelon. This nitrate to nitrite to nitric oxide pathway, which involves bacteria that live on your tongue and in your saliva, is one of the most elegant and important cardiovascular mechanisms that nutritional science has uncovered in the past 2 decades. And beet juice is the single most concentrated dietary source of these nitrates available to human beings. Here's how it works. When you drink beet juice, the dietary nitrates it contains are absorbed in the small intestine and circulated to the salivary glands, where they are secreted into the saliva. The beneficial bacteria that live on your tongue, this is why mouthwash, which kills oral bacteria, can actually blunt the cardiovascular benefits of dietary nitrates, convert those nitrates into nitrites. You swallow those nitrites, and in the low oxygen environment of your blood and tissues, they are converted into nitric oxide exactly where it is needed most, in the vessel walls, in the heart muscle, in the exercising muscles demanding more blood flow. Research from the University of Exeter, published in the journal Hypertension, found that drinking 500 milliliters, about 2 cups, of beet juice daily reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 10.4 millibars, that is millimeters of mercury, the unit we use to measure blood pressure, within just 24 hours. To put that in clinical perspective, a 10-point reduction in systolic blood pressure is comparable to the effect of a first-line blood pressure medication, and it happened in 24 hours from a vegetable juice. A follow-up study from the same research group found that older adults with peripheral artery disease who supplemented with beet juice daily increased their walking distance before pain onset by 18% within just 4 weeks. For seniors whose mobility and independence are constrained by poor circulation, that 18% is not a statistic. It is the difference between walking to the mailbox and not walking to the mailbox. It is the difference between independence and dependence. After 60, The body's ability to produce nitric oxide through the endothelial pathway, the direct production by blood vessel cells, declines by approximately 50% from peak levels, making the dietary nitrate pathway through beet juice increasingly important as a supplementary source of this critical vasodilating molecule. Additionally, beet juice contains betalains, the red pigments that give beets their striking color, which are powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that independently protect the endothelial lining from oxidative damage. A woman named Constance, 67, from Baltimore, Maryland, came to me with resistant hypertension, blood pressure that remained elevated despite being on 2 medications. We introduced 200 milliliters of cold-pressed beet juice each morning before breakfast. Within 6 weeks, her blood pressure had dropped enough that her cardiologist was able to reduce one of her medications. She told me that she also felt noticeably less fatigued during her afternoon walks, which made complete sense because improved nitric oxide availability reduces the oxygen cost of exercise in aging muscles. The practical guidance is to drink 200 to 250 milliliters of cold-pressed beet juice, available in most health food stores or easily made in a juicer, every morning on an empty stomach, which maximizes the nitrate conversion rate. Do not use mouthwash immediately before or after drinking it, as this kills the oral bacteria essential to the conversion process. The synergy tip is vitamin C. Just a small glass of orange juice or a vitamin C supplement taken alongside beet juice significantly increases nitric oxide bioavailability by protecting nitrite from oxidation in the stomach, ensuring more of it survives long enough to be converted to active nitric oxide in your tissues. Before we get to the top 2 most powerful blood flow boosting drinks, including the one that's going to surprise you at number 1, I want to take a moment and ask, if this information is genuinely useful to you, please hit the subscribe button right now. This channel exists to give you the science-backed health guidance that is specifically calibrated for your life after 60. Subscribe, tap the notification bell, and please give this video a like. It makes a real difference in reaching other seniors who are sitting at home right now not knowing that their daily drink choices are either supporting or undermining their cardiovascular health. Now, Number 2. Number 2 is a drink that has been used as a healing tonic across cultures from ancient Rome to medieval Europe to modern folk medicine that modern clinical science has now validated with some of the most impressive vascular research data in nutritional medicine, and that most seniors have either never seriously incorporated or have drastically underestimated. I'm talking about pomegranate juice and the extraordinary class of polyphenols it contains called punicalagins, which are found in significant quantities almost nowhere else in the human food supply. Punicalagins are metabolized in your gut by specific bacteria into a compound called urolithin A, and urolithin A has been shown to do something remarkable that almost nothing else in nutritional science has been documented to do. It directly stimulates mitophagy, which simply means the selective removal of damaged mitochondria from cells, allowing healthy mitochondria to take over and function more efficiently. Think of it like a factory clearing out its broken machines so the working ones have more space and resources to operate. In the mitochondria of your vascular smooth muscle cells, the cells that control how wide or narrow your blood vessels are at any given moment, this mitochondrial renewal translates directly to better vascular tone, greater arterial flexibility, and improved blood flow regulation. Research from the Preventive Medicine Research Institute, led by renowned cardiologist Dr. Dean Ornish, found that patients with confirmed coronary artery disease, blockages in the heart's own blood vessels, who drank 8 ounces of pomegranate juice daily for 3 months, experienced a 17% improvement in myocardial perfusion, which simply means blood flow to the heart muscle, while the control group who did not drink pomegranate juice saw their myocardial perfusion worsen by 18% over the same period. That is a 35 percentage point difference in cardiac blood flow trajectory between the juice group and the no juice group over just 3 months. Research from the Technion, Israel Institute of Technology, found that pomegranate juice reduced the oxidation of LDL cholesterol, the process by which cholesterol becomes sticky and damaging to arterial walls, by an extraordinary 90% in subjects who consumed it regularly. Oxidized LDL is the form of cholesterol that actually embeds itself in arterial walls and begins the plaque formation process. Reducing its oxidation by 90% is, in vascular terms, one of the most protective things you can do for your arteries. After 70, the mitochondria in vascular cells produce approximately 40% less cellular energy than they did at 40. And the resulting decline in vascular smooth muscle function contributes significantly to the arterial stiffness, blood pressure elevation, and reduced circulation that define cardiovascular aging. Pomegranate juice's punicalagin-derived urolithin A addresses this mitochondrial dysfunction at its source. I want to tell you about a patient named Miriam, 76, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Miriam had been told by her cardiologist that 2 of her coronary arteries showed significant plaque burden and that she needed to be extremely careful about her cardiovascular risk. She was already on statin therapy and a blood thinner. We added 8 ounces of pure pomegranate juice to her daily routine alongside her existing management. At her 12-month imaging follow-up, the progression of her arterial plaque had slowed to a degree that her cardiologist described as unusually favorable. Miriam told me it was the one change she was most grateful she had made. The practical guidance is to drink 6 to 8 ounces of 100% pure pomegranate juice, not pomegranate cocktail or blend, which is diluted with cheaper juices and added sugar, daily, ideally in the late morning after a small meal to slow its natural sugar absorption. Look for juice that lists only pomegranate as the ingredient. The synergy tip is green tea consumed in the same day. Research from the University of California, Los Angeles found that the combination of pomegranate polyphenols and green tea catechins produces a synergistic anti-inflammatory and vascular protective effect that is significantly greater than either alone, making these 2 drinks, when consumed together daily, one of the most powerful cardiovascular protection duos in nutritional science. And now, number 1, the drink that I promised would surprise you, the one that millions of people over 60 have been told to limit or eliminate. The one surrounded by decades of conflicting headlines, cultural hand-wringing, and medical caution. And that drink is coffee, specifically freshly brewed, moderate-strength, high-quality coffee consumed in the right amount at the right time of day. I know. You may have been told your heart can't handle it, that it raises blood pressure, that it's bad for seniors. The current body of evidence tells a profoundly different story, and it is time you heard it directly. Let me be precise about what the science actually shows, because nuance matters enormously here. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology, analyzing data from over 1.2 million participants, found that people who drank 2 to 3 cups of coffee per day had a 27% lower risk of cardiovascular disease, a 25% lower risk of heart failure, and a 20% lower risk of stroke compared to those who drank no coffee at all. These were not marginal findings from obscure journals. This was a meta-analysis, the highest level of scientific evidence, from 1.2 million people, published in a flagship cardiovascular journal. Coffee's cardiovascular benefits operate through several distinct mechanisms. First, chlorogenic acids, powerful polyphenol antioxidants found in coffee beans, have been shown to directly improve endothelial function by reducing oxidative stress on the vessel lining and enhancing nitric oxide bioavailability. Research from the University of Glasgow found that chlorogenic acids from coffee improved flow-mediated dilation, a direct measure of blood vessel flexibility, by a clinically significant margin in adults with elevated cardiovascular risk. Second, coffee has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, which is critically important for vascular health because chronically elevated insulin, a consequence of poor insulin sensitivity, directly damages the endothelial lining over time. Third, specific compounds in coffee called deuterpenes support mitochondrial function in cardiac cells, helping the heart maintain its energy production efficiency with aging. After 65, the aging cardiovascular system faces a triple threat: declining nitric oxide production, increasing arterial stiffness, and progressive mitochondrial inefficiency in cardiac muscle cells. Coffee's chlorogenic acids address all 3 simultaneously, enhancing nitric oxide availability, reducing the oxidative stress that stiffens arteries, and supporting cardiac mitochondrial function. A study from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, following over 200,000 adults for 30 years, found that moderate coffee drinkers had a 19% lower risk of dying from cardiovascular causes compared to non-drinkers. For a beverage that most people already consume daily, that is an extraordinary finding. Now, the important nuances for seniors specifically. Timing matters significantly. Caffeine consumed within the first 60 to 90 minutes of waking amplifies the cortisol awakening response, the natural morning hormone surge, in a way that can stress aging arterial walls. Wait at least 90 minutes after waking before your first cup. 2 to 3 cups per day is the sweet spot identified in the cardiovascular literature. More than 4 cups begins to show diminishing or adverse effects in older adults. Filter your coffee. Research from the University of Oslo found that unfiltered coffee, French press, percolator, or boiled coffee, contains compounds called cafestol and kawil that raise LDL cholesterol. Paper-filtered coffee removes these compounds while preserving the beneficial chlorogenic acids. And drink it black or with a small amount of whole milk. Adding high amounts of sugar or flavored syrups converts a cardiovascular medicine into an inflammatory beverage. A man named George, 70, from Denver, Colorado, had eliminated coffee entirely 5 years earlier after a general practitioner offhandedly mentioned that he might want to cut back given his age and blood pressure. George missed his morning coffee desperately and felt more fatigued without it. When I reviewed his actual cardiovascular profile and the current literature with him, we reintroduced 2 cups of paper-filtered black coffee daily, timed 90 minutes after waking. At his 3-month follow-up, his blood pressure was no worse, and his energy, mood, and cognitive sharpness had all improved noticeably. He told me it was like getting a piece of his daily joy back. The practical guidance is 2 to 3 cups of paper-filtered coffee per day, beginning no earlier than 90 minutes after waking, consumed without high amounts of added sugar. Choose high-quality, freshly ground beans when possible. The chlorogenic acid content of freshly ground coffee is measurably higher than pre-ground coffee that has been sitting oxidizing on a shelf. The synergy tip is a small square of dark chocolate with a minimum of 70% cacao consumed alongside your morning coffee. Dark chocolate contains flavanols, a different class of polyphenols that have been shown by research from the University of Cologne to independently improve endothelial function and blood flow, and the combination of coffee's chlorogenic acids and dark chocolate's flavanols creates a synergistic vascular benefit that is greater than either alone. 2 cups of quality filtered coffee and 1 small square of dark chocolate is, by the current science, one of the most cardiovascularly protective morning rituals available to any adult over 60. Let me bring all 5 of these together now because I want you to see the full picture. Green tea enhancing nitric oxide through EGCG and endothelial activation. Watermelon juice providing L-citrulline for the kidney to arginine to nitric oxide pathway. Beet juice delivering dietary nitrates that your own oral bacteria convert into circulation boosting nitric oxide. Pomegranate juice delivering punicolagens that renew mitochondrial function in your vascular cells and protect your arteries from oxidative damage. And coffee providing chlorogenic acids that simultaneously improve endothelial function, arterial flexibility, and cardiac cell energy production. 5 drinks, 5 distinct mechanisms, all converging on the same profound outcome: blood that flows more freely, arteries that remain more flexible, a heart that works less hard, and a body that receives the oxygen and nutrients it needs to keep you strong, clear, and fully present in your own life. You are not powerless against the cardiovascular aging process. Every single morning, you make choices about what goes into your body. And those choices are sending direct biochemical signals to your blood vessels, your heart, and every organ they supply. Choosing these 5 drinks over plain water as your daily hydration strategy is not a dramatic or difficult change. It is a simple, joyful, genuinely pleasurable shift that happens to be backed by some of the most compelling cardiovascular research in modern nutritional science.